today we're going to hopefully finish that part of the idolatry. And we will continue next time, God willing, to talk about, the title will be Who Created Evil and When? Also related to chapter 1 Genesis. And after that, after we finish with the evil subject, then we'll move on to the story of Eden. And the subject will change completely. We talk about adultery, number 2. So right now we're still holding on number 1, idolatry. So today, actually, we're going to arrive at the best. We have all kind of definition of what idolatry is, but today we'll arrive at probably, I think, the best and the most basic and inclusive definition of what idolatry is. So, as we said, Moses presents his case here in a very gradual fashion. First, he tells us a story about creation. We talk about it. And the 6 days of creation, that can be a story that really doesn't fit the time that he was living in. He gives us a story that can be validated by science, today's science, that people in his day didn't have any clue. We saw that every word there is precise and accurate in the story of creation. And that fit the subject of idolatry. If you want to believe in God, God of the Bible, here Moses starts with a story that's credible. So if the story of creation is credible, why not the story of Adam? So Moses goes on, and from the story of creation, he gives you a story of creating Adam, which should also be credible and credited by science. Actually, we understand the story better than our predecessors. When he talked about God sitting there and consulting his counselor and planting Adam layer by layer, giving Adam a goal, consulting the 6th day, giving us our body, talking about science, planting science in us, all that makes sense to us. We understand. There is the story is bereft of any rivalry between God. There is no jealousy, no sexual perversion, no God killing another God, and all this mythical story of his time are not present here. It's a simple, dry story that explain how we are built, not only explain by how we are built, but how we are built to stand the idolatry trial. Because Moses is not a psychologist. He's not interested in a scientist. He's not going to tell us how we are built, but how we are built to stand idolatry. That is how we should understand our forces in our life, what we are made, what attracted us to idolatry, and how to win it. Once we understand how we are built, it will be easier to overcome idolatry. Now, idolatry is not just foolish idols of wood and stone, as people think. We already see that idolatry is much wider than that. So this is where we are now. And so each layer that Elohim, God, lay in planning Adam, each layer is a precious gift, important for our life. But at the same time, because it's so precious, and because it's spoken plural to make it, it can be served as idolatry trap if you are not aware of it. So last time we discussed, the last consultation was discussed God looking at his head, the wisdom of his head, and planting wisdom in us. Then he looked at the spirit of Elohim, in verse 2, which we said it is the art of Elohim, the talent to do art, to appreciate beauty, which is so prevalent in nature. He consulted that and planted in us. That's what Spirit Elohim is. And so Adam is now a rage beyond just logic. No, we are not just creatures that make science. A creature that can paint, sculpt, sing. Actually, these faculties are higher than just logic, of course. We can express more with art than we express with word and science. And again, as precious as it is, this layer of art in our mind and body also can fuel or put gasoline on idolatry, because you can enrich idolatry by singing, painting, but building cathedrals and magnificent that can attract people just for the beauty of those things. Dancing, beautiful girls, beautiful men, beautiful people. All that can direct you to the wrong place. Now, and then we spoke about making ego, ourself, even the highest, probably the highest quality of gifts that he could give us was a free will and self. What kind of self? A self that is an image of his self. You know, there are a religion in the East, Far East, that the whole trust of that religion, which is billion of people believe in it. You know who am I talking now? They believe the basic premise that there is no self. The self is mirage. The prophet saw the initiator of that faith sat under the tree and suddenly he had enlightenment. Wow, why should I bother? There is no self. Everything is mirage. What I'm now is different than I was a minute ago. Oh, if there is no self, what should I worry? No. The Bible says the opposite. Our self is enormous. Is divine. The source of it, we are image of God. The verse in Psalm, one of the verses in Psalm says about man, you made him just a little bit less than you, God. We made Adam almost as yourself, which means that our self, the freedom, is profound. I mean, the angel reward. What are you doing, our king? Are you afraid that by speaking plural and planting such a self that can grow and can become arrogant and can rebel against you? To give? It's not dangerous to give Adam, the only creature in the universe that can rebel against you with free will. And he says, no, that's what I'm going to do. And I will teach him. I will give him the Torah. and I teach him that the superior, as Rashi says there at the beginning, the superior, I speak in plural to teach him that the superior would or will always consult the inferior. So Adam is born with that premise. So came a free will, ego. We don't talk about it. The ego, how ego impacted idolatry. Last time we saw that it revolved. Our ego in history became so big today by the success of science that actually we say that we invented God, not God. We created God, not God created us. All the scholars in the universe, in YouTube, there are tons of classes there that teach you that the religion is just a story. There is a story of communism, there is a story of fascism, It's a story of religion. Our sick mind concocted it. So we invented God, not God invented us. So much our ego is evolved. And it looked fine. Everybody believed in it. Almost, not everybody. Many. That's our time. It's the idolatry of our time. So here we are now in our class today, and we ask, okay, there is the ego. What does the ego want the most? So, of course, the ego, the self, the ego, want to take care of the basic need for our survival. So we have, all animals are driven by the desire to self-preservation. We are also animals in that sense. And our basic desire, if you ask what our self wants the most, first of all, to desire to be healthy, to survive like any other creature. What else does the ego want? To grow, to expand. We said it last time. Because if you stay stagnant, if you don't grow, you go down. Your competition will take care of you. So the one of the actually way to stay alive is to grow. We know it from business, for instance. If you don't grow, you go down. You never stay stable. It's just you aspire to grow. Now, there is much deeper wish of the ego that we are talking today. The ego does not only want to expand, but to grow and to be recognized by others, especially if you meet when you are alone. In chapter 1, when Adam was born alone, it was enough to be just to expand. There was no ego to counter him, again, only God. But when Adam multiplied and we have society, so our ego says, I shall grow and become a king. It means it means like this. Let me see if I don't want to jump ahead too fast. Okay, so going. So yeah, let's keep on in this route here. So when two people meet, or two people or more meet, we talked it last time, either there is each one want to grow. So each one want to draw his border between you and him and you. So the result is either they recognize each other and share, like in family, and create a new self, or they fight each other to the point that one becomes superior and one becomes inferior. Each one, so it means they fight, each one said, I want to be superior or a king. King here doesn't mean I sit in the throne with a crown and wear the golden ring. No, king means superior, giving korban, being active, and the other one is passive, inferior. That's according to the philosophers and according to the Torah too. When two such egos, two people appear, the result is one is superior, one inferior. Each one of them says, I shall be king. because the rabbi says years ago, the basic thrust of the ego is to grow and become a king. I shall be king. Where did they take it from? The phrase, I shall become a king. If you remember the story of David in the book of King 1, his two children rebel against him, Absalom, and then the other one, his name was Adoniah. So Adoniah assembled his followers, and he declared, I shall be king. The rabbi took that phrase to describe what the I, the self, want. The self want, I shall be king, to rebel against my father. Here Adoniah wanted to rebel against David, and in mankind, you can say that the rabbi perceived that as I shall rebel against my king in heaven. So here the basic promise of the I shall be king can be the source of idolatry, in a sense that I shall be king, not you. As Adoniah rebels King David. So that's why they chose from all the Bible, they chose this phrase, I shall be king. They took the words from Adoniah's mouth. So now we're talking about king, I shall be king. So what is kingship? What is God's kingship? We said, here the premise, the rabbi says, I shall be king and I shall rebel against your king, your kingship. So what is God's kingship? We have a clue now what God's kingship is because of chapter 1. We already said in chapter 1, it said there are 3 types of God's kingship. Chapter 1, I'll repeat it to you. For 6 days, remember, for 6 long days, Elohim, the builder, judge, created the world as a dictator. Let it be light, and light was there. Let it be grass, and grass was there. Nobody rejected, nobody raised his brow, and he consulted no one. Dictator. And it was very efficient. Dictatorship can be very efficient. China today is very efficient. The market is huge, competing with us. But it's dictatorship. So dictatorship, don't be fooled. Dictatorship can last and be thrive for a long time. If God created the universe in 6 long days, billion of years, as a dictator, and it was very efficient, why not man? So we can also set up a government and rule as a dictatorship. And it's fine, and we will be, the Torah says you will be very successful. So that's one kingship. Then God saw that if he continue with this way, Elohim saw that if continue this way, Adam will not stand their trial and not be very good. So he descended from his throne and he spoke in plural, the first time ever, let us make Adam. He became, instead of dictator, he became a new king. King number 2. King who consult and then decree. So king who consult, superior with inferior. Here is a notion that there is under such rule, there is a superior and inferior. One who give and one who receive. And one is superior, one influence the other. King is anyone who influences the other. And inferior is the one who receive, so to speak, in our discussion, in Kabbalah discussion. Kabbalah, actually, the main Kabbalah means to receive. people think it's Kabbalah. Kabbalah means kabel, to receive, the art to receive. To receive, in order to be vital, the cycle should be always closed. One give and one receive. But if you give only one way endlessly, everything will fall apart. The receiver should in turn give something back to the one who gave him first. So the cycle should always be reversed. Otherwise, the father should love endlessly his son. But if you just love him and shout, take, you ruin him. You ask him to do something for you back, in turn, you close the cycle, and then become vital and steady. So that's the source of that's Kabbalah basic notion of receiving. So here, then kingship number 2 in creation, soft creation. God, the first 6 days he created as a dictator. Now we have like a new type of kingship, a democratic kingship. You need a government to decide, but the government you need to consult your citizen. In order to make a final decree that please them, that will support you. So you are depending on their support. Give and take. You give and take. So this is a number 2 kingship, the king who consult. Number 3 in chapter 1, we're talking about 3 types of heavenly kingship in chapter 1. Dictatorship, so-called benevolent democratic ruling, and number 3 is the most fascinating one. When Elohim finally will abstain from work, and only the merciful one will reign, that's in the Sabbath. Oh, then there is total different kingship. Everyone is a king. There is no rebellion, there's no sin. But let's not talk about this third type. Third type is a deal related to the Sabbath, which is not here. In our life, we have the option either to be dictators or to rule ourselves and the world as a king who consults democratic. So now we know that when the self says, I want to be a king, that's the self-desire. So the self has 2 options. You can be a dictator. I can rule as a dictator over others, or I can rule as a king of consult. What will happen if you rule as a dictator? The Torah gives you an answer. You can be very efficient for a long time, but you know what? And God did not stop it and descended down on its throne to become a king, a democratic king. He would terminate the whole world, as Rashi says. The only reason we are still here is because he stopped being a dictator and he created us. So the rule is, you can derive from it, a dictatorship can rule itself for a long time, be very efficient, but it's always bound to destroy itself. There are many dictators that they ended up fighting against their own people with vengeance, with hatred. How dare they forsake him? Mao Zedong, in the end days, he was hateful of his own people, the revolution. And another Nazi leader, that the last moment of his life, he gave an order to destroy Berlin. How dare they forsake him? How dare they lose my war? I hate you. dictatorship is efficient for a long time, but don't be deceived. It will never be very good. It will be very bad. The only way to become for kingship to be very good and to remain to see the next day is to become a democratic. So now Adam, so this is the story of kingship. Now Adam is the point here is that what Moses says here actually is reflecting in our, it's so truthful that is reflected either in our bodies or in the history. For instance, we know that when he said about our involvement in the uterus, it's the ancient didn't know about it. We know that he was right because you look at how the embryo developed, embryo repeats the entire 6 days. So he's right. But Moses actually saying that Adam continued after birth. So when we are born, we continue the story. How? The children, look at children. The children come out of the young age, their ego, their self-image is so big. Of course, they are children, but when they depict themselves on a chart, they will draw themselves as big figures, and the parents are small behind, and the universe is way out. They are the universe. And they are dictators. Second year child, third year child is a little dictator. Ask any mother, she will tell you. So we are born as first year so we repeat the story. First we are dictators. As we grow up and we start to recognize other selves, we learn to accommodate. We shrink our own self and we accommodate other selves. And we learn to consult. Sometimes one becomes inferior, one superior. You see it in children, you see it in girlfriends among themselves. In high school, superior, inferior, the queen of the school, king of the class, and so on, the king of the class. So we are in that battle of egos, learning to accommodate each other in society later on. Of course, so we repeat in our life those stages. Finally, when we come to puberty, sexual maturity, we learn actually to surrender ourselves to another self with love. And that's actually the third life. The third YHVH kingship of the Sabbath, kingship of God. God means kingship of the Lord. Yeah? The Sabbath, kingship of YHVH is from out of love. Here is the sexual maturity that depicts it. I surrender myself to you. I have no self. I love you. God loved me. I love you. All that is under that category of third kingship. So we repeat in our life the story of Genesis, not only individual, but also in history. For thousands of years, humanity knew only one sort of efficient kingship, dictatorship, empire, dictators. Only recently, only 200 years ago, it's nothing compared to history. We learned that, the power of democracy. We understand now how democracy can make us very good compared to the other that may be efficient, successful, but they're never very good. Human rights and so on. Democracy assures that you become very good, not just good, not just another animal. All the animals in the 6th day were good. You want to stay animal? for dictatorship. You become another animal. Man, only one way. Democracy. You can be very good. So here, suddenly Moses raised the politics, so to speak, democracy, to a religious dictum. The Deuteronomy says, God said, you should appoint of you a king. Oh, what a verse. Appoint on you a king? I thought a king take a sword and kill the other king and take over. That's what Prophet Samuel rejected the plea of the people to come make us a king. He said, wow, you want a dictator? Because they said, we want a king like all the other nations. He said, no. He will do to you this and this and this and this. But why are you looking for a dictator? God is your king. Because the Torah says, democratically. You know, both the anointed David, and David was never assumed kingship until he was elected by the people, although he was anointed. But he didn't claim to be a king until finally the people of Hebron, Judea said, oh, you are, be elected you. So you should appoint on your king. Democracy. All right. So let's go now to the basic question, the time we have, is what does it mean, I shall be king? We said this is what prompts the self want to grow. And when we met other selves, each one said, I shall be king. I aspire to be king. So, of course, it doesn't mean I want to be a dictator. If I want to be a dictator, we don't even deal with you. It means I want to be a king you support. I want to impress you. I want to be your king. That the desire of each person to be a king, king here is not just political king. I want to influence, to make an impact on others. I want to paint, to impress others. I want to sing. I want to teach. I want to be a scientist. So the drive to impact others is behind our activities, as in this sense of I want to be the king. I want to be the giver. In a sense, Rabbi said, what does the self want to be? What kind of self want to become king, a democratic king? To be recognized. I want you, all of you, to recognize, first of all, to recognize me as unique. I want to be the best singer. My voice should be recognized on the radio right away. You should recognize me. Recognize my voice. That's the first aspiration of the self. Secondly, I want to accept my, I want to recognize me and accept my superiority, not in the sense that you bow to me, but in the sense you clap your hands, you vote for me, and you love me. President Clinton said that behind any president is a desire, any politician desire to be loved. That's his words. So recognize me, see me as unique, draw my outline. You know who I am. I'm super. I'm stand up, out. I stand up. You recognize me, and you accept you recognize me, not only recognize me by part, but recognize my superiority in that field. And you love me, clap my hand, you impressed. So to do that, I don't marshal an army to cut your head. I will do all kinds of activities to impress you. As a painter, as a politician, as a leader, as a singer, as a rabbi, or whatever, I will do something to impress you, to listen to me, to see me in that field, in that sense, as a superior. So that will drive me. I will do all kinds of things, and many psychologists will agree that this is the motive behind most of our activities in society. Not only to work for living, to buy my bread, or then go I will not go to this beach and do nothing and just be content with the bread and cheese. I want to do something to be recognized by others positively, and to accept in turn, to accept your support. So here is a kingship, a desire to accept my support. In Kabbalah, that's the definition of Malchut, kingship in Kabbalah. The bottom of all the spheres, the bottom line is a kingship because it accepts the input from all the other, recognizing it as a king. As a king because is the one who executes the desires. He's the one who executing. My desire is to be king. By desire, by doing my real thing in the real world. So that's kingship. Kingship, receive and then execute. So what is all that to do with what all that is to do with idolatry? We understand, we already said that I will be a king from Adoniah, son of David, I shall be king, I mean I shall be, I rebel against my father. We understand it. But what is the core? What is there is here? What is all that to do with idolatry? We said that, okay, that God made us, planted in us this precious desire to a precious ego that will push us to grow and to become king, to influence others. This beautiful thing, but it can be a source of idolatry. Because every gift that our king gives, he has something in return to close the cycle, the give and take, to have it stable relationship. So here, so what is the core? What is the idolatry that come out from this relationship of me impressing others? How does it work in relation of idolatry? Here comes the secret. Because to be a giver, to be effective giver, to do something to affect you, you need to be a good receiver. You need to be prompted exactly to receive my output. If I speak to somebody who is not prompted, I will never move him to anything. If I want to impress you, to fascinate you, that you love me, I need to talk to your desires. So who is more important, the receiver here or the giver? Of course the receiver. Because the receiver directs the giver what to do. You run a poll, and you see what the receiver wants to do, what to accept. Then you do what to do. Then you know what to do. So the receiver actually is a real king. The real king is not the one who wants to be king, but the real king is the receiver, actually. Fascinating. Fascinating. I think the first one who kind of Tolstoy, the Russian magic writer, when I was young, I used to read it. He knew that. We wrote about, it was Napoleon, he said. Napoleon was nothing, a puppet. It was the public who made Napoleon. And so the book is full of description of simple soldiers. And not talking about the session of the Napoleon had with his generals. Most of the book is about simple people because they dictate history. Napoleon was just feeling what the desire of the people want. Oh, wow. So our desire, when God made us, planted us a desire to influence others, like he influenced others. At the same time, he planted in us, in the same us, also the desire, the lust, the longing to be inspired. Be inspired, we long to be excited. I long to see a movie and I cry. I long to watch. I want to listen to beautiful music that will stir my heart, and I will hug my wife. I like to be this emotional stirrer. So this is the receiver party become now dictate what to do. Now, if that's so, it opened up the door for idolatry. Because if I look at, as we said, if I look at the nature and I seek God, I'm fascinated with the people, the creature around me. Oh, the cow is a holy cow. The beast is such a magnificent. I adore him. I fear for him. I love him. I'm fascinated by him. As you see in the cave, the fascination is nature. So the whole premise of idolatry, as we discussed in moving from one day to another, seeking God inside and inside creation, is prompted by our seeking God. We are impressed. We are impressed by the moon. We come to a point that impressed by the moon. We write astrology. We know the way. Oh, they control our life, and we are so fascinated. So we dictate who is our. By this, we dictate who our king. We can make the error and forget about God. You don't see God. You're not fascinated. They need to tell you that God created it, but you see. You're fascinated. You're impressed by real thing, and you are impressed by anything that gives you good feeling and prompted you. Drugs, alcohol, political party. When after Karl Marx wrote his books, Manifesto, all the young people are fascinated by they gave their life for communism. This is our new God. This is the son of humanity, S-U-N. Are impressed by not just by creatures, not by singers, by anything that prompts us to be fascinating and stirred up with emotion and control our libido, become our king, our idol, forgetting about God who nobody's seeing. Wow, what a challenge it is. To really accept God. Nobody see him, you can hardly trace, you don't see any trace of him. To be fascinated, unless you are told. So here we came to probably the best and most inclusive definition of idol worshiping. To in front of us, something that fascinate us. Oh, I wanted to say two more things that I should have said earlier. When God made us a will to do something, to be king, to impress you, and to fascinate. So we mentioned to be a painter, to fascinate him. I want to do something because I want to be loved. I want to be admired. And he said that the receiver actually, the one who thrown him actually has deeper experience. But in order to, God made another thing. Seeing that this would not be enough to push Adam to do something, to really impress others, because some people can say, no, I have no desire. My desire to impress others is not so much. I prefer to go to the beach and eat hummus all day long. Why should I go to trouble my job? Some people will say, many people say, oh, I'm tired of it. I quit. Anyhow, my life is short. I want to enjoy. Why should I sit in a cubic office there and all my life a computer? I should go out and enjoy. God knew that. And he said, I need two more things to assure that you won't sit there idle all day long. To assure that you go out. You know what? You look at the chapter 1, you already exhausted all the items there, beside the two on the top. After making Adam, it says, and Elohim bless Adam, bless Adam. In here, that is saying, be fruitful and multiply, and rule over. He blessed him. Be fruitful and multiply, procreation. So which means he gave him a strong sense of drive of sexual desire. In animal, they are hot a month a year. With our life, with Adam's life, all year long. Be fruitful. He blessed them. This enrich our life. You know why it enrich our life? Because it drives us crazy. You want to impress somebody, to a mate. Oh, better be rich, better be important, better assure that you can provide. You can build a mansion. It will surely drive you. If you sit idle on the beach, you know what you get. It's not what you desire. And then he planted another drive in front of it. He said, in front of it, and rule over. So the second drive is to not only to be a king, but the desire to rule really over, desire to be superior and to control others. That's hidden. The two drive are hidden. The most innermost drive in our psyche, he said, Sigmund Freud, and as you know, Professor Carl Jung. The only debate is who is more important. Freud said sex is behind, deep behind our activity. And Carl Jung said, oh, no, the drive to become important, to rule, to wield power is more important. And they debated all their life. They didn't look at the Bible. Because if you have two sources, which one you put in the front, the stronger one. So here the verse says, be fruitful and multiply. First source, surely will drive our Adam forward. Be fruitful and multiply. Secondly, the stronger one you put in front, rule over. According to the Bible, surely the drive to rule over dominate us more than anything else. This is not kingship. Kingship is a nice desire to be loved, to be respected, people clap your hand. Here is a sex drive, and a drive to give order. The thrill you have to control somebody else. is deeper in our psyche, according to both of them. And that's what according to the Bible. So this enforces our drive to create. So see how wherever you go, wherever you move in chapter 1, you suddenly encounter something in science, something that we understand. I know that maybe 2,000 years ago, even 500 years ago, people read the same text, but they didn't have the same conversation that we have now. Because Moses, I believe, spoke to us. There's so many indications that this text is so unusual, so deep, beyond anything that anybody wrote 3,500 years ago. That even in his time, people can understand what he's talking about. Consulting the days, what do you mean? Consulting the days and making Adam? What do you mean? We know what it means. We know what drives are. Okay, so with this we'll finish here. And any question, we have a few minutes.